Have you ever met someone in the rain and felt like they could see straight into your soul? For a long moment, Lily walked silently beside Ethan, her fingers tightening around the damp envelope she had been clutching since the moment he found her in the rain. The night around them felt quiet now, too quiet. The storm had softened into a faint drizzle, but the heaviness between them remained. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was something deeper, something that asked to be understood. Ethan didn't push her. He didn't ask questions. He simply walked beside her, matching his pace with hers, offering a silent comfort she didn't know she needed. Finally, Lily inhaled shakily. "I haven't told this to anyone," she began, her voice trembling. "Not even the people who should have known." Ethan's head turned slightly toward her, but he didn't interrupt. "My story. It didn't start tonight," she said quietly. "It started months ago, maybe years. I don't even know anymore." She paused to steady her breathing, the rain making her eyes shine beneath the streetlights. "I left home tonight because I thought it was the only thing I could do. But the truth is, I've been thinking about leaving for a long time. I just never had the courage." They reached a small park bench under a half-broken lamp, its light flickering weakly. Lily sat down slowly, as if her legs could no longer hold the weight of her memories. Ethan sat next to her, a careful distance away, giving her space but not letting her feel alone. Lily looked down at the envelope in her hands. Her thumb brushed over its worn edge. This letter was supposed to explain everything," she whispered. "But I never decided who to send it to. My parents? My brother? Or just no one at all?" Ethan watched her with quiet compassion. "You don't have to tell me what's inside," he said gently. "Only if you want to." Lily exhaled, shakily. "I want to," she murmured, "because if I don't tell someone, I think it will destroy me." What happens when the one person who finally listens is a complete stranger? Welcome to Emotion Waves. She closed her eyes for a moment before speaking again. "I grew up in a house where emotions were never allowed," she said. "If I cried, I was weak. If I spoke, I was wrong. If I tried to express anything, it became an argument." Her voice cracked slightly. "So I learned to stay quiet, to be the calm one, the good one." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "But being the good one, it costs you pieces of yourself," Lily continued softly. "It makes you disappear without anyone noticing." She wiped her eyes. "I kept everything inside until it became too much. And when I finally tried to talk about it, they said I was being dramatic, that I was ungrateful, that I needed to toughen up." Ethan clenched his jaw, anger rising, not at her, but at the world that had failed her. "So I stopped trying," Lily whispered. "Stopped talking. Stopped asking for love I never received. I became invisible in my own house." She tightened her grip around the envelope. "Tonight, I reached my limit. I wrote everything I've been carrying, and I was ready to walk away. Not forever, just away. Away from voices that drowned me. Away from expectations that suffocated me. Away from the pain." Her breathing turned uneven, her chest rising and falling too fast. "But when the rain started, I realized I had nowhere to go. No one to turn to. I was alone, completely alone." Ethan spoke softly. "You aren't alone. Not right now." Lily finally looked at him. Really looked. Her eyes reflected gratitude, confusion, fear, and hope all at once. "I didn't expect anyone to stop," she whispered. "And I definitely didn't expect someone to listen." Ethan offered a gentle smile. "Sometimes, the people who understand the most are strangers." Lily's voice softened, filled with fragile warmth. "And sometimes, strangers feel safer than the ones we've known our whole lives." The drizzle around them deepened again, the sound of raindrops filling the silence. But this silence didn't hurt. It felt like a release, a beginning. Lily placed the envelope beside her on the bench and breathed for the first time without feeling like it would break her. The rain had settled into a rhythmic whisper, falling like a soft curtain around the park. The broken lamp above them flickered again, casting pale, trembling light across Lily's face. She looked calmer now, but Ethan could still see it. The storm inside her hadn't passed. She had shared pieces of her story, but something deeper remained hidden, something heavier. Ethan didn't rush her. He sat quietly, letting the moment breathe, letting her gather the strength she needed. to continue. Lily drew in a shaky breath, her fingers brushing the envelope beside her. "There's more," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "More than what I wrote in the letter. More than what I told you." Ethan turned slightly toward her, concern softening his expression. "You can take your time," he said gently. "I'm not going anywhere." Those words hit her harder than she expected. No one ever stayed. No one had ever sat beside her long enough to hear the truth. Her eyes glistened again, reflecting the muted glow of the streetlight as she looked down at her hands. "It wasn't just the arguments," she murmured. "It wasn't just the silence or the lack of love. A long breath, a trembling exhale. It was the feeling that I didn't belong in my own life, that I was living someone else's version of who I should be." Her voice faltered. "Every decision I made, someone criticized it. Every dream I had, someone called it stupid. Every time I tried to stand up for myself, I was told I was wrong." Her words cracked open something raw inside her. "I started believing them," she confessed. "I started thinking maybe I was the problem. Maybe the world would be easier if I just kept quiet and disappeared." The last word hung in the air like a fragile shard of glass. Ethan's chest tightened. "Lily," he whispered, but she wasn't finished. "I tried so hard to be perfect," she continued, tears slipping down her cheeks despite the drizzle, "to make everyone happy, to be the daughter they could be proud of. But no matter how hard I tried, it was never enough." She pressed a hand to her chest. "And when you spend so long trying to be enough for others, you forget who you are for yourself." Ethan leaned forward slightly, not touching her, but letting his voice become a steady anchor. "You didn't deserve that, none of it." Lily laughed softly, bitterly. "Maybe not, but when you hear something long enough, you start believing it. And when the people who are supposed to love you make you feel small," she paused, swallowing, "you start to shrink." The rain fell heavier again, as if the sky itself echoed her pain. "And tonight," she said quietly, "I reached the point where I couldn't shrink anymore. I couldn't breathe inside those walls. I needed to escape, even if I didn't know where I was going." Ethan exhaled slowly, heart aching for her. "Leaving took courage, more than you realize." "Did it?" she whispered. "Because it felt like failure." He shook his head. "No. Sometimes walking away is the first moment you start saving yourself." For the first time, Lily looked like she believed him, or wanted to believe him. Her shoulders loosened slightly, as if someone had finally lifted a weight she'd carried alone for far too long. The night around them felt different now, warmer despite the cold drizzle. She wasn't just confessing her pain, she was releasing it. "I've never told anyone these things," she admitted softly. "Not because I didn't want to, but because I thought no one would care." Ethan's voice was steady, sincere. "I care." Lily blinked, startled by the simplicity and certainty of those words. "You barely know me." He shook his head. "Pain doesn't need introductions, Lily, and neither does kindness." Her lips parted, a quiet breath leaving her. A breath that didn't feel suffocating this time. For the first time tonight, she didn't feel invisible. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. The weight she carried wasn't gone, but she didn't have to carry it by herself anymore. And that, in itself, was the beginning of something she never expected to find on a rainy night with a stranger. But what if the stranger has been running from his own storm? This is Emotion Waves, where broken hearts find each other. The rain softened again, falling in gentle threads that shimmered beneath the trembling streetlight. For a few moments, neither Ethan nor Lily spoke. She had shared the darkest corners of her heart, the pieces she had hidden even from herself. And Ethan knew silence was the most respectful response he could give. But Lily turned to him slowly, wiping her cheeks. "You listened to me," she whispered. "Really listened. I don't want this to be one-sided. You said you understand pain. You said you've carried your own regrets." Ethan felt his heartbeat slow, heavy. He hadn't expected her to ask about his past. Actually, he had hoped she wouldn't. Lily's gaze was gentle but searching. "You don't have to tell me," she said softly. "But if you want to, I'm here." Ethan exhaled, long and quiet. He looked toward the empty street, the way the rainwater glided along the pavement, forming slow-moving rivers that disappeared into the drains. Something about the way the water flowed reminded him of time, how it moved whether you were ready or not. It started 3 years ago, he said finally, his voice steady but low. When I met someone who changed everything for me. Lily's breath hitched, but she stayed silent, letting him talk. Her name was Arya, Ethan continued. She was bright, loud, full of life in a way I never understood but always admired. He smiled faintly, remembering. She used to drag me outside when it rained, said storms made the world honest. I thought she was ridiculous, but his smile faded, replaced by something far heavier. She wasn't ridiculous. She was right. Lily watched him with quiet empathy. We were together for 2 years, Ethan said. And then she got an opportunity to leave the country, something she had dreamed about all her life. His jaw tightened slightly. But I was selfish. I asked her to stay. I told myself it was because I loved her, but the truth is, I was afraid of being alone. He swallowed hard. She chose to go. She said she'd come back. We promised to call, to visit, to make it work. His voice lowered. We didn't. Lily's fingers twitched slightly. Aching to comfort him, but unsure if she should, Ethan stared at the ground, watching the raindrops splatter against the wet concrete. Months passed. We drifted apart. And then, I found out she'd been in an accident. In another country. No family around. No one who really knew her. His voice trembled. I wasn't there. I wasn't there when she needed me. Lily's breath caught. Ethan, he shook his head gently, not to silence her, but to keep himself steady. By the time I flew there, it was too late. She'd already passed, and all I kept thinking was, if I hadn't asked her to stay, if I hadn't made her choose between her dreams and me, maybe things would have been different. The rain fell in heavier drops, as if the sky understood the grief he carried. For a long time, Ethan continued, voice hollow, I blamed myself. I still do sometimes. I thought I didn't deserve anything good. I thought maybe I should just spend my life alone, so I'd never hurt anyone again. He looked at Lily then, his eyes reflecting years of unspoken sorrow. So, when I saw you tonight, standing in the rain, alone, hurting, something inside me refused to walk away. I couldn't let another person feel like they had no one. Lily's eyes filled instantly, her chest tightening. You didn't have to carry all that alone, she whispered. Ethan gave a small, sad smile. We all do, until someone sits down with us on a cold bench in the rain and listens. A tear rolled down Lily's cheek, not from her own pain, but from the heaviness of his. You're not the reason she left, she said softly. And you're not the reason she's gone. Ethan looked down again. Maybe. But regret doesn't fade just because someone says it should. Lily nodded slowly. I know, she whispered. I understand that more than you think. The rain continued falling, surrounding them in soft, steady sound. 2 people, 2 storms, finally allowed to exist together. And for the first time, their pain didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a bridge. For a long moment, Ethan and Lily simply sat there on the rain-damp bench, side by side, surrounded by the soft hum of midnight. The street was nearly silent now, except for the gentle splash of raindrops hitting puddles and the whisper of the wind weaving through the trees. It felt like the world had paused for them, 2 strangers, connected by pain neither had planned to share. Lily lifted her eyes toward Ethan, studying the lines of grief he carried so quietly. You've been hurting for a long time, she murmured. Ethan let out a faint breath. So have you. Something about saying it aloud, admitting the weight they both carried, softened the space between them. It wasn't pity, it wasn't sympathy, it was recognition. A deep, unspoken acknowledgement that broken souls often find each other in the most unexpected places. Lily looked down at her hands. It's strange, she said softly. I've lived my whole life surrounded by people, yet I've never felt as understood as I do right now, with someone I just met. Ethan's heart tightened at her honesty. Sometimes strangers see what family never could, he replied gently. Sometimes we open up to someone new because they don't expect anything from us. Lily nodded slowly. You didn't ask me to be strong or perfect. You didn't judge me. You just sat with me. And you listened to me, Ethan said. You let me talk about parts of myself I've buried for years. Their eyes met, brief, hesitant, but powerful. Two people who had been carrying the darkest pieces of themselves suddenly found light in each other's presence. Lily exhaled deeply. I didn't think anyone would understand what it feels like to suffocate in a place that's supposed to feel like home. And I didn't think anyone would understand what regret feels like when it doesn't let you sleep, Ethan said. Their truths collided, not violently, but gently, like two storms merging into something new, something calmer. The rain picked up again, falling in a steady rhythm that seemed to echo their heartbeats. Lily's hair stuck to her cheeks, and Ethan reached out instinctively, brushing away a damp strand. His fingers lingered for a brief second, barely a touch, but enough to send a quiet tremor down her spine. She didn't pull away. Not this time. Why does it feel like I've known you longer than an hour? Lily whispered, not looking away from him. He hesitated, but only for a moment. Because sometimes, Ethan answered softly. Broken hearts recognize each other before words ever do. Lily blinked, and a single tear slipped from her eye. Is that what we are? Two broken hearts? Ethan smiled faintly. A sad, beautiful smile. Maybe. But maybe that's why it feels easier to breathe around you. Lily's breath caught. I haven't felt this safe in a long time. And I haven't felt understood in years, Ethan admitted. The drizzle around them seemed to grow softer, as if giving space to something fragile and new blooming between them. Slowly, almost cautiously, Ethan turned slightly toward her. Lily, he said gently, everything you shared tonight, everything you've been hiding, it doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Lily swallowed, her voice trembling. Then why does it hurt so much to be human? Ethan looked into her eyes, really looked. Because we care. Because we love deeply. Because we break deeply. But hurting doesn't mean you're alone. Not anymore. A tear slid down Lily's cheek, but this time she didn't hide it. She let it fall. She let him see it. And Ethan did something few people ever had. He accepted it. He accepted her. Without thinking, not confidently but courageously, Lily reached out and placed her hand over his. His fingers stiffened in surprise, then slowly curled around hers, warm despite the cold night. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't forced. It was something gentler, something deeper, two people choosing to not face their darkness alone. When I walked out tonight, Lily whispered, I was running away from everything. And when I stopped you, Ethan said softly, I was running towards something I didn't even know I needed. Their hands remained joined, steady, despite the storm. Two broken hearts, finally, finding a rhythm together. This is Emotion Waves. If tonight touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe.